Everyone asks questions. Everyone has a question about something, and then there's someone or something that has an answer. But I think there's one question that maybe there is no true answer. Maybe the answer is just too great to understand. Maybe we just don't have all the facts yet. But in any case, that one question is, where did we come from? Were we created by a divine being, or were we created by the Big Bang trillions of years ago and slowly form into organisms over time? I know that we didn't just suddenly appear here, so where did everything start? Walking through the woods makes you think of the beauty of the earth, looking at the trees and the birds that inhabit them. It's the perfect place to ponder the unknown. I've always wondered how the earth was formed, how life came to our planet. It's a curiosity that's been inside me for a long time. I think there's a point in everyone's life where they wonder these same questions. I was brought up in a Christian household, going to church every Sunday. I also have a passion for science. It can be difficult for me to find a balance between the two. But then I wonder if there really is a balancing point. Answers just don't appear out of thin air. So I buckled down and asked the questions I wanted answers for. Steve Tungate is the pastor at the Free Methodist Church where I attended. He was the perfect person to ask about creation.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over its waters. And to summarize a strictly Christian view of creation, probably from Christian to Christian that varies to one degree or another. Some would probably merge some scientific theories along with the biblical text. But basically, to really narrow it down to its essence, the Christian view of creation would be based on Genesis 1. And it's an affirmation that God was the creator of all that we see, from the largest planet and solar system to the most minute single-celled animal or creature.
Haddock Snyder, the head of the physics department at SC4, gave some insight as to the scientific side of things.
Well, the most prominent scientific theory is the Big Bang theory. And it basically boils down to the idea that the universe was all compressed into some infinitesimal something that we don't understand, until some point about 3.8 billion years ago, when it suddenly exploded outward in a mass of radiation energy. It was pure radiation and nothing else. And this formed all the things in the universe we know today. It went from being pure radiation to being individual particles, to being atoms, to being molecules, all through the development of the current universe.
The book of Genesis, along with the first 5 books of the Bible, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, were all attributed to the writings of Moses. So roughly 3,400 years ago, to 3,500 years ago, Moses had penned the words found in the book of Genesis.
The universe is apparently about 3.8 billion years old. The reason we feel that way is if we take something that had to be that hot and that powerful over time it's going to cool down. There's still evidence in space of it cooling down. And the temperature it's reached now is about 3 degrees above absolute zero Kelvin. And looking at the amount of material that's there and that kind of thing, that's consistent with the idea of something that started 3.8 billion years ago that hot, that by now it would have cooled down to just about that same temperature. The theoretical calculations and the measurements are in quite good agreement.
Personally, I genuinely believe God created all the heavens and the earth and the universe, everything that we see. However, I think also there's the part that if we look at the scientific evidence and trace it back, I think it's also a logical and reasonable conclusion to come to say that God was the creator. For example, I was watching a documentary on the Big Bang Theory, and a good scientific theory, and affirmed by a number of scientists. But a couple of the scientists said, scientifically, we've been able to trace back right about to the point of that Big Bang, but what we don't know is what triggered it all. And I think that's an important question when looking at it. And I think it is logical and reasonable to come to the conclusion that there had to have been a creator, a designer, who ignited that spark, who set things in motion to bring about this order that we see.
Well, first of all, let me point out that as a scientist, there's no real conflict between religious beliefs and science. It's where people try to apply their religious beliefs in lieu of science, or science tries to use the rationality of science to demand people have no religious beliefs, that we get into trouble. From my own point of view, there's no need for a divine intervention. We can rationally explain what the universe is today, what it has been, and where it came from.
Will we truly understand where we came from or how we got here? Even if given the answers. I hope some of the information that I received helped you as well in your own thoughts. Maybe we were meant never to understand,